Welcome to Boob Talk with your host, Cynthia Rogers. It's time to get it off our chest as we discuss the issues breast cancer and other cancer survivors face. Come along on our journey. We are survivors. This episode of Boob Talk is brought to you by Niche's World, the Niche Hair Scarf Wig. It's the most comfortable wig that all women will love. Every hair scarf wig sold helps generate another hair scarf wig to be donated to a cancer patient who needs it. Miss Sipo, the owner, created the niche in memory of her beloved granddaughter Nisha, who lost her battle with cancer. For more information and to purchase a hair scarf wig, go to nichesworld.com. That's NIESHS world.com. Welcome to Boob Talk. I'm your host, Cynthia Rogers. Thank you for joining me. Tonight, our special guest is Sharon Newman, breast cancer survivor and thriver, clean beauty advocate, and business owner, here to discuss with us the importance of clean beauty products and other products for cancer survivors and others. Sharon, welcome to Boob Talk.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to talk about this.
We are so glad to have you be on the show today. So I just wanted to make a disclaimer, clear some things up. Now, I am a Young and the Restless fan from way back, and I just want to clarify, you are not the Sharon Newman from the Young and the Restless.
I am not. And I used to watch the show, and I don't anymore, but I have had people in the past, when I give my visa, they're like, oh, look at your name. But I haven't had it in a couple of years now, so I don't know. Is she still on the show?
Yes, she's still on the show, I'm still watching. So because that's the first thing I thought about. I said, oh, it's Sharon Newman, but not Sharon Newman from Y&R, so I just want to put that out there.
But you are funny, yes.
But you are, to me, just as infamous. So let's just get our discussion going today. So you are a breast cancer survivor and thriver. So Sharon, can you tell us how your breast cancer journey began and what you're going through now?
Sure. Yeah. No, my story is I still sometimes can't wrap my head around it because it came in a very unusual way. I participated in 2011. I participated in a research study where they wanted to test for the BRCA gene. And I look back, I still don't know why I did it. There was no breast or ovarian cancer history in my family, no cancer history at all. But my sister-in-law was doing it. A bunch of people I knew were doing it. So I was like, and all it was a swab, a saliva swab. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go do it. And I did it and thought nothing of it. They said the results probably wouldn't come back for a year because they were doing a massive study. And I just, that's it. It was far from my mind. And then 9 months later, I got a call saying that I tested positive for a mutation in the BRCA2 gene. And I was like, my world stopped. I'm like, what? And I went the very next day to the genetic counselor with my husband. And if anyone's not familiar with the BRCA gene, it has, it's correlated to a very, very high risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and for men, prostate cancer, and other cancers as well. So I sat there in the genetic counselor office, and they were telling me, you know, I can't even remember the number, 65% chance of getting ovarian cancer and 75% chance of breast cancer. And the recommendation right then and there was to have a double mastectomy and a hysterectomy, which I was like, you know, my world just,
what?
I was helped one day, and the next day it's like, exactly. And so, you know, there was no decision to be made right then and there. In the meantime, I was 39 years old, and they said, go have your first mammogram. So I did, and my mammogram came back inconclusive, an ultrasound, an MRI. I had a biopsy, and essentially I needed a lumpectomy. And the results of the lumpectomy was I had breast cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was 2 millimeters of invasive cancer and a whole bunch of DCIS around. And so it was just after my 40th birthday when I got the results. And the thing that's just crazy to me is where I live, the standard of care is not to have a mammogram until the age of 50. I'm turning 50 next month. So I would have had this cancer growing in my body potentially for the last 10 years. And so goodness. I'm just, it's still when I look at it. So it was just, I participated in that study for a reason. My breast cancer was found for a reason. I was lucky that it had not gone to the lymph nodes. And because at that point I decided to have a double mastectomy, I didn't need radiation. And so I went on a drug treatment plan for 8 years. And, that was 10 years ago. And so I'm happy to be healthy now.
Amen to that. I just can't imagine you're just taking a study just on a whim, and then you hear the words, "Oh, you have breast cancer." It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it is.
Now, at the time when you did the study, did you know about what the BRCA mutation was, or did you just decide, just let me just be a part of this because you knew people that were doing it?
I did. I knew about it, and the study was specifically looking at the Ashkenazi Jewish demographic, and that's what they were trying to correlate it to. And so I knew what it was, and I knew that there were other people that had it, and so I've become a big advocate of getting tested, more so, though, in the Black community, because I've learned that there is a massive disparity in the Black community in the BRCA gene, and it's highly prevalent. So I try and share my story as much as possible because the information has to get out there, because it saved my life. It saved my father's life because he had prostate cancer 5 years after me, and because he knew about it through me, his prostate cancer was caught very early. So I'm always advocating for genetic testing for the BRCA gene.
Yes. Now, this is something that my mother had breast cancer twice, and I had breast cancer 5 years ago. And when I did the test, and my sister, we don't carry the gene. So we're like, well, how can that be? But, you just never know. So, but I do plan to go back and get further testing because they say, the tests change over time. So I'm just curious to go back and get another test and see if it's still that I don't carry the gene. But, you just never know. But like you said, you just need to get the word out so people can become aware of this and be proactive. So how did your breast cancer diagnosis impact your life?
Yeah, so I was just going to say I understand there's other genes now that they're testing for. So, yeah, I would absolutely go back. So it changed my life in so many ways. I found my voice. I became passionate about talking about the BRCA gene, talking about breast cancer, and then talking about ingredients in our personal care products. And that came about because it was my oncologist who was then discharging me, and I had that conversation, which most of us do. What can I do to make sure my breast cancer doesn't come back, right? And we hear a lot of the same things. We hear that sleep is important and eating well is important, and every single doctor told me to do yoga and all these things that we kind of know. And then she kind of snuck in there and she said, make sure there's no parabens in your personal care products. And I was like, excuse me, what are you talking about? And so I learned that, so parabens mimic estrogen in the body. And my tumor and many breast cancer tumors, not all, but many breast cancer tumors, are hormone receptive positive, meaning that they feed on the estrogen in our body. So my treatment plan was to have a hysterectomy, right? So my ovaries were taken out because that's where your estrogen comes from. It now became part of my treatment plan. And then the drug therapy that I was on was also meant to reduce the amount of estrogen in my body. So I was on a treatment plan to reduce the estrogen in my body. So what she was saying to me is, make sure you're not getting any estrogen from your personal care products. You know, it would be counterintuitive to do that. So when she said that, I kind of went down the massive rabbit hole of what else is in our products. My daughter was 7 and my son was 6. And, you know, they have a chance of having the BRCA gene as well. And so, but even besides that, I was like, well, what's in all these products that we're bringing into our home? And I couldn't believe how complicated it is and how many products or how many ingredients there are in our products that really shouldn't be there. And so I became an advocate for educating people, you know, to just don't look at the bottle and assume that everything in your pharmacy or in Walmart or wherever you go to get your products, don't assume that just because they're sold on the shelf means that they're safe. You need to look at what's actually in our products, because the regulations are not where they should be to protect us.
Now, it's very interesting that your doctor is the one that brought up that discussion, because I think for a lot of us, maybe including myself, that my doctor never even talked about, you know, look to make sure there's no parabens in your products or anything like that. So I just, on my own, you know, learned, you know, certain things you should try to avoid or have in your system and what have you. So as a cancer survivor and for others, just as prevention, you would say it is very important to become aware of what we should be bringing into our home and our body then.
Yes. So at the time, I was already, I guess from when I had kids, I already changed the cleaning supplies that I was using. So I was using only vinegar and water and maybe some essential oil to change the smell. So I think I was asking her about that. So she already knew that I was like trying non-traditional products. And and she mentioned it to me, and I think that every day. I don't think she would have said anything if I didn't say anything about the cleaning products. But most doctors don't say anything about it.
Yeah, they do. They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to ask you then, with all of these different products now that supposedly cater to being clean, how do we know what is the correct information?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So there's a lot of confusion around it. A lot of people think that, well, okay, I want to have safe products, so I'm going to use all natural. Okay, and that's kind of the term that they use, natural products. And natural doesn't necessarily mean safe.
Okay.
Natural, right? Because if you think about it, lead is a hormone disruptor. That's mind. Arsenic is mind, and that's right? So just because, and oftentimes it's very difficult because even if they're not mining the lead, whatever they're mining could be contaminated with lead. So just because something's natural doesn't mean it's safe by any means. And in fact, sometimes you run into risk because they might not be using the proper preservative. And then also, and whenever you've got water in a product, you've got the potential for bacteria. So you need to make sure that products are preserved properly. And the other thing is performance. So, you know, you could put coconut oil and just use that, but is that really going to get you the results that you want? You know, if you're looking for certain results, like, you know, evening your skin tone or brightening the skin and stuff like that. So you really have to know what you're looking for, be clear on your goals, and because what we're looking for is actually safer, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So just because we see the word natural doesn't mean it's safe. Okay.
Correct.
Now, what about those products that say, go ahead.
Well, there's a term called greenwashing. And basically what that means is it's the process by which marketing is used to confuse us, right? So marketing people will make a product in a green bottle, right? And they'll have a woman running through a beautiful field, like you said, like natural, so you feel natural, right? And right. So you look at these bottles and you're like, oh, it's good. It's good for me. And that's where greenwashing comes, right? Maybe the product is called Green Clean, and that means nothing. Basically, what you have to do is turn the bottle around. You've got to ignore all the marketing, turn the bottle around, and actually look at the ingredients, because that's the only way you're going to know whether it has ingredients that you should be avoiding or not. Another term that is huge greenwashing, if you ever see chemical-free, run the other way.
Yes.
Run.
Okay.
Chemical-free, because think about it. Think back to grade 10 science. Water is H2O, 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Everything is a chemical, right? Like, there's no such thing as chemical-free. So that is just out and out trying to confuse us, right?
Yeah. It's a lie.
It's a lie. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist.
Okay. So now what about the products, like you were saying, so the products that are out there are saying that they're green. Can we trust that or no? Same thing, just we have to be conscious of what the actual ingredients are. So all of these, Glee, are just marketing ploys, these terms for the most part then. Okay.
Correct.
So then what should we look for? What ingredients should we be looking for that are harmful for us?
Yeah. So the very first thing I look at, so like I said, I pick up the bottle and I ignore everything on the front and I look at the ingredients. And the very first thing I look for is fragrance. And the reason I do that is because fragrance is a trade secret. Like companies do not have to disclose what's in fragrance. So because it's intellectual property and so it's protected, they don't have to disclose it. But my feeling is, so it could be hundreds of ingredients that make that product give it its signature scent. The thing is, though, if you're going to spend the time to turn over the bottle and look at ingredients and make sure all those ingredients are safe, then why would you choose a product that has fragrance in it? Because they're not telling you what's in it. And oftentimes, in fragrance, they will have a endocrine or hormone disruptor called phthalates. And phthalates is a plasticizer. It's used in perfumes. It's used in nail polish. It's used in most things with a scent because it makes the scent last longer. And it's also been linked to lower sperm counts in men and boys. Yeah. So and there's other hormone disruptors that are often in fragrance as well. So and companies that are truly concerned with your safety will not put fragrance or perfume. They will list out, this is what's in our fragrance. And normally it will be some sort of essential oils. And let me just say, you can have amazing smelling products that are made with essential oils and don't say fragrance or perfume. So that is the very first thing I look for.
Okay.
Yeah. And then besides that, parabens. And parabens are very easy to find. It always says parabens at the end. There might be a different prefix. Butyl parabens, metal parabens. I think there's 4 or 5 different kinds, but you'll always see parabens. So it's not really difficult to find in a long list of ingredients. And the reason why, again, is because it mixes estrogen in the body. That's another one I would watch out for.
So can we trust the products that do say they don't have parabens? Should we trust that right on the bottle, no parabens? Should we believe that? Because now I'm becoming paranoid.
Great question. Okay, I'm going to make this easier for you. I am.
Okay.
2 things. First of all, if it says parabens and you turn over the bottle and there's fragrance, I wouldn't trust it because the company's not being transparent. Right?
Okay.
To me, you can't trust any company that says fragrance because they're not telling you exactly what's in the product. So it's just a marketing term that they're putting on the front of the bottle. Okay. So I know at the end, you're going to say how people can get in touch with me, but I am going to say that if anybody wants, you can DM me and I will give you a list of ingredients to look for when you are looking. So I can send that to anybody who wants. And the other thing I'm going to say is there is an app that I don't want to confuse you guys. I don't want to give you more overwhelm. There is an app called EWG. Sorry, it's a website and they have an app as well, ewg.org. And if you download the app, you could go into any store and you can actually scan their UPC and it gives you a toxicity rating. So it rates products from 1 to 8. Yeah, it's a fabulous, fabulous tool. It rates products from 1 to 8, 8 being the most toxic, 1 being the least toxic. And you can even drill down and it'll tell you why it got a high rating. And sometimes it'll get a high rating because of allergy-related ingredients that they use, but they also talk about neurotoxicity, reproductive toxicity. So it's a fabulous tool. You don't have to know all the ingredients. You go and you scan things and you find a product that is safe to use. Yeah, for sure. It's incredible.
Well, you know what I'm going to do right after the show. I'm going to go check it out, and I'm going to go grab stuff and start scanning to see what it says. Amazing. I'm going to do that.
I love it. And then tell me what you find. Now, I want to hear.
I'm going to. Then I'm like, oh, my gosh, I've been putting contaminants in my body and in my house this whole time. And then I'm going to just have to do a purging and start from scratch.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Yes, absolutely. But let's also, sometimes people get overwhelmed with, oh my God, I need to, everything, I can't use any of this. That can be overwhelming. So, baby steps. What do you use the most of, right? I'd say if you're using a body cream all over your body, maybe start with that one, right? Because it's covering more surface area. Right. And then as you go through it, otherwise you will get a little bit
won't have anything. So, won't have anything in the house.
Exactly. Mom, where's the toothpaste? I need deodorant.
Now, I also wanted to ask you about, I see on some products where they say no sulfate. Does that mean?
Okay, so sulfate is it's actually an irritant. And it's an ingredient that we should avoid, especially in soap, especially when we're washing our hands all the time now with COVID. But it's also an ingredient that makes things foam. So, yes, they should be avoided. And that is a safer product if they really do not use sulfate. So sulfate, if you want to look on the ingredients label, it's usually SLS or SLES. The problem is when you start using products without sulfates, you're going to find that they don't foam as much. And so, yes, it's a little bit of getting used to, and it's a little bit of, shampoos is a big one. People are like, it doesn't foam. Where's the so it's a matter of trying different brands, and I'm happy to recommend brands that, will foam better than others. But, yeah. And the other thing, what I do is I have in my house, and it's so inexpensive, I have foaming soap. And that you can basically put, I think it's 3 parts water and 1 part concentrated soap. And the fact that you're putting it in a foaming bottle, it kind of mixes it and makes it foam for you. And so
really?
My really likes that. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I'm learning some very important information that I had no idea was even out there. Yeah, you brought up shampoo and...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did a video on how to make your own foaming soap in my Facebook group, so I will tag you in that so you can see how to do it.
Okay, great. So you just mentioned shampoo, and yes, so I've seen that on the shampoo that I use that says, no parabens, no sulfate, so that's good to go for now. But speaking of hair products, I wanted to just ask you quickly now that I've been thinking about it. Normally this time of the year,
for, God knows, since I was like 21, so that's like 30 years. But I love color as far as hair color. So I've always, dyed my hair or had rinses or what have you, highlighted. And normally this time of year, just to feel better during the spring, summer, I would have my hair highlighted. So now I've been very skeptical and cautious recently, I say probably within the last couple of years, about should I be using dye, because there was a study that came out saying there was a link between breast cancer and hair dyes. And even after that, I just said, oh, you know what, maybe if it's not on my scalp, it would be okay. So I did have my hairstylist highlight my hair, but that has been now over a year ago. So now, this time of the year, I'm thinking, okay, is it safe for me really to get my hair colored? And so what would be your opinion about that?
So like I said before, it's progress over perfection, right? And there is a time when I went for a long time and said, I need my hair color. And then I was like, okay, now I need to change my hair color. And what I found was, there are certain ingredients that are in hair color that have nothing to do with coloring the hair, like the ammonia and the lead. Mm-hmm. So those are two ingredients that you can look for, and they're not necessary for coloring hair. Now, the one ingredient that is necessary for permanent hair color, it's called PPD. I don't know what the long form is. I'm sure I can pronounce it anyways. So that is necessary for permanent hair color. So what you want to do is find one that has as least as possible, right? Like if you're you're saying you don't want any toxic ingredients in hair color, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
But I think what you can do is exactly limit as much as possible. I know when I go to my colorist, so I did switch a couple of years ago, and just when I walk in there, the smell is completely different. When I used to go to my old place, you just walk in and you're like, oof, like the ammonia and not right. You just, and now this new place that I go to, it doesn't have that kind of smell. So there are things that you can do to reduce the amount of toxins, but not get rid of them 100%. So that's where your trade-off is, right? Do you love your color once a year? Let's find something that's safer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sharon. I feel better now.
Okay, good.
So I know you have started what's called the Clean Beauty Collective. Now, can you tell us what is that about?
So that is a Facebook group that I have. That anyone is welcome to join. And I talk about all this stuff. So I did a video when we were in lockdown last year. My daughter colored my hair with the dye from this place that I'm telling you about. And so I talked a little bit about that. Like I had mentioned, I did a DIY on foaming soaps. I talk about products that I represent. And it's really just all sort of switches that you can make. And anyone's welcome to pose questions in there and I'll answer. It's a Facebook group, a community of people who want to clean the products that they're using.
Great. Now, you just said you represent certain products. Could you tell us what those products are, or do we have to go into the Clean Beauty Collective?
No. So like I said, when I was looking for clean products, I learned that I had to learn about all these ingredients, and I was spending so much time on EWG. And the one thing that I learned was it was much easier for me to find brands that I trusted and just use all those products than to look at individual products from different companies, right? Like, let's look at the Johnson & Johnson this and the La Roche-Posay that kind of thing. And so I found certain brands like Nature Clean and Seventh Generation in terms of cleaning supplies, Green Beaver, David's Tooth, certain brands that I would look at their website and they weren't changing the ingredients based on, what people were telling them they no longer want. They were starting with the idea that if I'm going to produce a product, it is going to be safe for my user to use. Right? That was the mission behind the product. So a couple of years, 5 years ago, a company named Beauty Counter was launched in Canada, where I am. And so I looked at their never list, the ingredients that they would never use, and I said, oh my gosh, they have all the ingredients that I'm trying to avoid. And at that point, I was like, oh my God, I just want to try all these products so that I don't have to spend all this time on EWG and scanning and whatever and just do it this way. And so I ended up, but performance is often a problem, a trade-off. And when it comes to cleaner products. So I wanted to try them all, especially, 5 years ago. Now they're getting a little bit better. So I bought all the products and I tried them and they're phenomenal. And so since then I've been representing Beauty Counter. They have a line of different skincare for different skin types. So for oily skin, for normal skin, for anti-aging. They also have body products and shampoos and conditioners and full line of makeup. And I've just been blown away by the product because the performance is incredible and their safety standards and their social responsibility when it comes to the environment, when it comes to ethical sourcing. I'm so proud to be part of this company. And so, yes, I represent a company called Beauty Counter, and they're phenomenal products.
That's great to know. I think I'm going to check that out. I also was just thinking now that you mentioned makeup. I know since I had cancer and I did go through chemo and radiation, I noticed that for some reason certain lip glosses or maybe lipstick, it would leave me feeling so dry, and then I would get dehydrated to the point where it's like I feel like I don't know what I can even use as far as makeup. Even like certain eyeshadow, like I felt like it was just like my skin was just getting dry and then dehydrating. So I would be very interested to look at Beauty Counter and see what they offer, because I just think now at this point my body is just into certain things and just dehydrated. So I'm sure that there are maybe other breast cancer survivors that are experiencing the same thing, or at least trying to find an alternative to the makeup that's already out there that's something that is safer for us. So thank you for sharing that information with us.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And what I love about it, too, and especially when it comes to makeup, I remember, years ago going into my health food store and finding makeup there, and performance was definitely an issue, but also the colors. And I just felt like, oh, my God, who's making this stuff? And so I love that they are on trend with the colors that they use and just the makeup trends and stuff like that. And so, yeah, please check it out and let me know what you think.
Great. Now that you mentioned going to the health food store, this was a few years ago. I was in the health food store, and I saw they had vegan nail polish. So now that's making me question, if you see something that says vegan in the product, is that true? Is that safe? Does vegan even mean anything on products, if you know?
Yeah, so, I think vegan, I think it comes back to it being natural, right, because it's all plant-based. So I think there's an issue when it comes to, the performance of it and whether it's preserved properly. But also I think vegan attracts people who are vegan. I don't think that if I'm not vegan, so I wouldn't be attracted to something that says it's vegan. I think that's, people who are, they're only looking for those kind of products. I do get people who ask me, are your products vegan? Some of them are, some of them aren't, so I can answer that. But I wouldn't look at it as a safety measure. When it comes to nail polish, there are a couple nail polish brands, that are 5 free. They'll say on them 5 free or 7 free or 10 free. You're looking for formaldehyde is a big ingredient in nail polish that you want to avoid. Toluene is another. Phthalates is another. But you like there's brands like Zoya that's really good. And Cote, C-O-T-E is a great nail polish brand.
Great. Thank you for all of this information.
No problem.
So lastly, Sharon, what advice would you give cancer survivors about their journey through all that you've been through, and then just clean products in general?
So I would say, I find it unfortunate that, me and everybody else, we have to go through something in order to start really looking at this. But that's where, I'm on a mission to educate. And I'm on a mission to educate people who have not gone through something awful because, we shouldn't have to have a cancer diagnosis to find out about awful ingredients in our everyday products. Our skin is our largest organ, and what we put on it matters. Like, no one's disputing the fact that what we put on our body gets absorbed and affects the way our body functions, right? Because that's the way the nicotine patch works. That's the way the birth control patch works, right? So no one's disputing the fact that what we put on our body matters. So I would say start small, switch up one thing, and then switch up another, and it's a journey, but it does matter. So, and if I can help anyone, please reach out. I'm happy to do it.
Great, Sharon. And so how can our listeners reach out to you and once again get involved and find out more about the Clean Beauty Collective?
Great. I think the best way would be to reach out to me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is sharon.i.newman, and it's Newman, Newman. So sharon.i.newman. And you can follow me there. There's a link to join the Clean Beauty Collective right there. So you can join a link. You can DM me. I am very quick at getting back to you. And like I said, you can DM me and I can send you a link or PDF of ingredients to avoid as well. So that would be the best way, Instagram.
And if those don't have Instagram, is there another way they could reach out to you?
Oh, of course. Okay, so email. So Sharon.Newman@Rogers.com. ROGERS.com. Sharon.Newman@Rogers.com.
Great. Sharon, I want to thank you for coming onto the show to bring awareness to this discussion about toxicity and clean products. I think it's a much-needed conversation because just a lot of us just don't know where to begin, and we are trying to make a change, but we just lack the information. So I want to thank you for being an advocate for clean products.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll have you back on the show.
I'd love it. Anytime.
Thank you so much, Sharon. You take care.
You too. Thank you, Cynthia. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You have been listening to Boob Talk. Thank you to our special guest, breast cancer survivor and thriver, Sharon Newman, clean beauty advocate and business owner, for sharing her breast cancer journey and discussing with us the importance of clean beauty and other products. Let's be proactive about the purchases we make and the toxins we allow to enter our homes and our bodies.
This episode of Boob Talk is brought to you by Nisha's World, the Niche Hair Scarf Wig. It's the most comfortable wig that all women will love. Every hair scarf wig sold helps generate another hair scarf wig to be donated to a cancer patient who needs it. Miss Sipo, the owner, created the niche in memory of her beloved granddaughter Nisha, who lost her battle with cancer. For more information and to purchase a hair scarf wig, go to nishasworld.com. That's NIESHS world.com. You have been listening to Boob Talk with your host, Cynthia Rogers. Remember, never give up hope.